From her popular role as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, Judy Garland almost had it all, but many sad and insane circumstances made her life tragic, and this video breaks down her unfortunate life and the people who made it so. Judy Garland's real name was Frances Ethel Gum, and she was born on June 10, 1922, in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, to two vaudeville performers. She was one of three siblings, and she made her theatrical debut at just 2.5 years old, and from that moment, her childhood was basically over. Judy's sad life began at home, a chaotic place from the start. There was a rumor that her father, Frank, had affairs with young men, which caused a massive scandal in their small Minnesota town. In 1926, the Gums left town to escape the controversy and headed to California. However, moving to California should have been a fresh start, but it was actually where things got exponentially worse for young Judy, and you won't believe the crazy things they made her do as we move forward with this video, because the real tragic moment is almost unheard of. Judy was set up for a tragic life by her mother, Ethel, a controlling stage mother who quickly tried to mold her daughters into stars, and here's where it gets absolutely wild. Ethel put 10-year-old Judy on a diet of pills, which includes amphetamines in the morning and sleeping pills at night. These pills were given to Judy both to keep her energy up for the stage, as well as to bring her down and rest afterwards. Interestingly, Frances adopted a different name in 1934 after the Gum sisters rebranded themselves as the Garland sisters, and she chose Judy for herself after the popular Hoagy Carmichael song, Judy. In 1935, when Judy was 13, she was signed by Louis B. Mayer of MGM, the head of Hollywood's largest studio. Her contract tied her to MGM for 7 years, during which she earned $100 a week, considered fair pay at the time. However, this is little compared to what we have coming up later in this video. But before we get to the crazier aspect of this video, other insane aspects contributed to her tragic life, like when the studio executives immediately started controlling every aspect of her life. MGM demanded she maintain an immature appearance for as long as possible, forcing her to diet constantly, and her chest was bound to keep her looking less developed, which is a very sick move. And the heartbreaking thing is, it gets worse with every sentence that follows. The abuse from studio head Louis B. Mayer was particularly horrific. Mayer openly referred to Judy as "my little hunchback" because of her height. According to Gerald Clark, Judy's biographer, Mayer groped her in his office many times, placing his hand on her breast while she was singing. Judy stated that she, Mickey Rooney, and other young performers were constantly prescribed amphetamines to stay awake and keep up with the frantic pace of making one film after another, and were also given barbiturates to take before going to bed so they could sleep. They'd give them pills to keep them on their feet long after they were exhausted. The studio was literally turning children into drug addicts, and still, it doesn't end there. The control extended to her eating habits too. The studio demanded she constantly diet, even serving her only a bowl of chicken soup and black coffee when she ordered a regular meal. During her time filming The Wizard of Oz when she was 16, MGM executives were especially strict, with minders who snatched plates of food from her at the studio commissary, and she was encouraged to keep to a diet of black coffee and as many as 80 cigarettes a day. Judy once recalled saying, "From the time I was 13, there was a constant struggle between MGM and me, whether or not to eat, how much to eat, what to eat. I remember this more vividly than anything else about my childhood." The harassment wasn't just from executives either. According to her third husband's biography, the actors who played Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz also illegally harassed her, putting their hands under her dress and making her life miserable on set. When The Wizard of Oz premiered in 1939, it made Judy one of Hollywood's biggest stars at age 17. She won an Academy Award for her performance, but the success came with an even heavier price. In 1941, when she was 19, Judy married 30-year-old composer David Rose against the wishes of her mother and MGM. Her first marriage was basically a desperate bid for freedom from all the people controlling her life. But freedom wasn't something she'd ever really get. She was forced to have an abortion by her mother, husband, and even MGM Studios, which quickly led the relationship to break down. And here's something that shocked everyone when it resurfaced decades later. Before The Wizard of Oz made her a star, Judy appeared in blackface blackface in the 1938 film Everybody Sing, playing a character who auditions as a blackface performer in a musical. The image shows teenage Judy painted with darker skin, large white lips, and dreadlocks. Many people found this an acceptable form of entertainment through the 1930s, but Judy was just a 16-year-old kid with absolutely no power to refuse anything the studio demanded. In 1945, she married director Vincente Minnelli, and they had a daughter together, Liza, who would eventually follow her mother into show business. In 1947, Judy walked in on Minnelli in bed with a man who had been working with both of them. This discovery sent an already struggling Judy over the edge, and she attempted to get rid of herself for the first time. The life-ending attempts became frequent after that, with Judy saying, "All I could see ahead was more confusion. I wanted to black out the future as well as the past. I wanted to hurt myself and everyone who had hurt me." After MGM suspended her contract in 1950, she attempted to end her life once again. According to reports, Judy was fired from the MGM film Annie Get Your Gun in 1949 for tardiness, drunkenness, being overweight, and instability. The studio that created her addiction problem was now punishing her for having that addiction. She married producer Sid Luft in 1952, and this became her longest marriage at 13 years. They had 2 children together, Lorna and Joey, but the relationship was dangerous. During divorce proceedings in 1965, Judy claimed that Luft was physically harmful to her, saying, "He struck me many times. He did a lot of drinking." What's absolutely heartbreaking is how frequent the life-ending attempts became. According to an obituary in the Los Angeles Times, Luft said that Judy tried to kill herself 20 times throughout the course of their 13-year marriage. Luft recalled in his memoir, "Judy had cut her throat with a razor blade. What demons inhabited her soul just when life seemed so rich and productive? It was a gigantic puzzlement that she would poison herself with pills and that the toxic reaction to whatever she swallowed would create an impulse for self-mutilation." Judy later slashed her wrists during another attempt, presenting them to Luft while bleeding profusely and saying, "Look, darling, what I've done." However, despite how worse it got for Judy, she had her 4th marriage to actor Mark Herron, which lasted only 5 months. Judy was penniless and single by the end of the marriage, having had to sell her LA mansion and move between rented apartments and hotels. But her life kept going on in absolute horror. In 1963, while filming I Could Go On Singing, Judy used her trailer's wastebasket as a toilet and tried to stab co-star Dirk Bogarde. When asked how shooting was going, one producer replied, "Pretty good. She hasn't tried to kill herself today." That's how normalized her suffering had become. In addition to her suffering, she also lost a great deal financially. Due to poor financial management and suspected theft, whatever fortune Judy had accumulated had vanished, and she reportedly owed the IRS hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid taxes. In the late 60s, when Judy was in her 40s, she was destitute, near homeless, and sustained herself making $100 a night singing in gay bars. The exact amount she made per week as a 13-year-old was now what she earned per night, performing in small venues. And at this point, she knew she was living a sorrowful life. Judy said, "Do you know how difficult it is to be Judy Garland? And for me to live with me? I've had to do it. And what more unkind life can you think of than the one I've lived?" Her 5th and final marriage was to nightclub manager Mickey Deans in 1968. They met when Mickey, 12 years Judy's junior, delivered illegal substances to her hotel in New York in 1966 and married 3 years later in London. Reports from the Times suggested that during her performances in London, Mickey forced her to perform even though she was too unwell to do so. On June 22, 1969, Mickey Deans broke down the locked bathroom door in their London flat and found the star deceased at just 47 years old. Following an autopsy, the coroner officially ruled the cause of demise to be a self-administered accidental overdose. Coroner Gavin Thurston announced, "This is quite clearly an accidental circumstance to a person who was accustomed to taking barbiturates over a very long time. She took more barbiturates than she could tolerate." Judy's New York funeral coincided with the Stonewall riots, credited as a turning point in the gay rights movement. Some people believe the grief over her death may have even heightened tensions that night. What makes Judy Garland's story particularly tragic is that she didn't like being called a tragic figure. Her daughter Lorna explained, "We all have tragedies in our lives, but that does not make us tragic." She was funny, and she was warm, and she was wonderfully gifted. She had great highs and great moments in her career. She also had great moments in her personal life. Yes, we lost her at 47 years old. That was tragic, but she was not a tragic figure. Sadly enough, her life is now looked back on the way she never would have wanted it, and from being a young star with no control over her life and choices, she ended up paying the price with her childhood, her health, her happiness, and ultimately her life.